Yo, welcome to Starbucs. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me this morning, we got, as always, Jim Rosati. Happy, Jim, you're so red.
I know. Like, I could feel myself getting sunburnt yesterday the entire time, and I didn't realize it was going to be this bad. And, I woke up today, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, well, we're a little burnt.
So
we're a little burnt. The worst is because I was wearing my hat like this. Let me show everybody this. That right there. I basically have to wear a hat now for the rest of the week at least, or I'm just gonna look silly. This even looks silly, but
you already look silly. Yeah,
I already look silly.
I mean, are you going to like tan the rest of that out? Or are you just going to show up to Bradenton again in 2 weeks with your hat?
I think in 2 weeks I should be all right.
Okay.
This will get normal in a week.
Well, I'm not shocked because I did see you yesterday. I saw how you were already red yesterday. Maybe I'm shocked on this level again, like this quickly, this early in the morning.
It does. It's got a little bit of a shock factor to it. Well, and like if I turn this light on, I think it even looks a little worse. It's like, I don't know.
Nah, I didn't notice anything.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Anthony says it brings out the gray in my beard. I appreciate that.
Wow. Now that we got that out of the way, should we tell everyone why you're so red and why I saw you yesterday?
Yeah, let's get into that.
So, I guess we got shots, right? This is our first shot?
Yeah, we'll make this our single shot.
All right, here's our single shot. Got to remember these transitions, Jim. So, where are you at right now? You look like you're in a hotel.
I am at a hotel in downtown Bradenton, Florida. So, yeah, I was trying to get here Friday night. Ended up getting here early Saturday morning due to some mix-up by an airline, and so I got here early Saturday. You know, we got together, went to the game in Clearwater on Saturday, Pirates Phillies, and then yesterday Pirates Twins at Lecon Park. So just a quick little weekend. I didn't have anything going on this weekend. Saw that there were two games kind of real close. I was really going to come down here with one of my buddies who is a Phillies fan, and his flight ended up getting canceled on the way down here. So unfortunately he couldn't come, but you drove down from Jacksonville and went to a couple games. So it was a fun weekend.
It was a fun weekend. It was like the precursor. I think we've told everyone, and if not, if you haven't heard, we will be down there. And it's not as a whole. All four of us will be down there March 19th to the 26th. But yeah, like you said, you wanted to come down for a weekend. I had nothing going on. Let me come down with you as well. Check out some games. So it was a good time. Like I said, it was a quick little trip. I mean, I'm back home. You're still there, but even for you, it's a quick little trip. Weekend getaway, Bradenton. It was cool. It was fun. Good weather.
Good weather. Almost too good a weather, as you can see from my face.
Jim doesn't know how to take the sun.
Well, you know what it was? I mean, that was really – well, let's be honest. That was my first sun experience of the year, like my first real sun experience of the year. And I was just being a stupid idiot, and I didn't think ahead, and I didn't put anything on my face whatsoever. So here we are. Lesson learned. This won't happen again.
Right.
It's always bound to happen once a year.
You got to ease yourself into it, Jim. I mean, like, I understand you are in Kentucky, but there's been some nice days up until this point, right?
Right, but on those nice days, I'm typically not like standing in the sun for 4 hours.
You should stand in the sun for an hour. just just to get a little bit of sun before you do this to yourself.
Well, because like it's been sunny, but it's also been like 50 degrees, so
I mean,
not sunny and 80 like it was yesterday.
yeah. Well, anyways, I mean, to our trip, it was a good time. We saw 2 games, like you said. So you had the mix up at the airport Friday night. I was driving down Saturday morning to meet you. I mean, the whole idea was I was going to pick up at the airport. We're going to go to the game. It's usually like a 3.5 hour drive for me. And I left at 8 o'clock in the morning, give myself a little bit of a cushion, leave at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I didn't show up to the game till 1:25. I mean, it was stupidly ridiculous. Actually, what really pissed me off too was the fact that like Saturday, Rich Hill was pitching. I was kind of intrigued and interested to see that. And I missed all of Rich Hill's start. So, but you got to see it.
You did.
Let's maybe discuss. I can't discuss from personal thoughts, but let's discuss maybe Rich Hill, what you saw out of Rich and his performance in Clearwater.
Yeah, so when you're at the game, you don't really get to see all the angles and stuff that you would normally see at home. But I can say this: like when it came to Rich Hill, the one thing that kind of impressed me in the 2 innings that he worked is how he kept hitters just off balance. Like they weren't really expecting him. He utilized his like really slow sweeping breaking ball with the arm slot, the really low arm slot coming in from sidearm. He utilized that a couple times, and it seemed to pretty much work every time he tried doing that. But no, just a really good job overall of just pitching. It seemed like by Rich Hill, which that's kind of what you want to see him do this early in spring, is just kind of get a feel for all of his pitches. And based off of what I saw, he looked pretty good. Phillies hitters looked pretty like I said, not they were not in sync with his pitches. They were not making good contact. So yeah, good stuff out of Rich Hill. Something that you want to see out of him early on.
Yeah. Yep. That's basically what you told me when I got there. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
Since I didn't get to see it.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And I missed this comment, but Anthony saying, is this a story about DiNardo being late? Yes, it was. It's not my fault, but yes, it was. But I don't know. So Rich Hill again. That was my biggest thing. I wanted to see Rich Hill in that game. It was a pretty solid lineup as well. Was there anything else like in that game that you want to take note of? I know Harlan Garcia got injured in that game as well. No update really yet on him.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that just to kind of touch on, there was some story about Bryan Hayes and getting some launch angle this year. He had a really nice hit off of Aaron Nola in the first inning, second batter of the game actually. So he drove it deep to left center field. Maybe 5 feet short of a home run, but he hit a triple on it. So he had the home run earlier in the week. He had that triple off of, obviously a very good pitcher in Aaron Nola. So you're seeing some better like bat behavior out of Bryan Hayes so far. Now we've seen Bryan Hayes have like monster springs in the past. So, I guess we'll wait until the season starts to kind of really see what he does. But yeah, I think you got to be happy with what you see so far out of Bryan Hayes. He's only played 3 games, but you got to like what you've seen out of him so far.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what you just said right there, I think a lot of people need to hear. He's only played 3 games. Most of these people have only played like 3, 4, just a handful of games, right? I mean, at the most, some of these guys have like 10, 12 plate appearances. So, like, some of the reactions to whatever their stats are right now, first off, it's spring. Second off, like, one hit can change it. One hit can make some of these guys a 200 hitter or a 300 hitter.
Right.
So, like, everyone needs, like, I've seen a lot of stuff right now about, like, this person's batting average or this person's ERA. Chill.
Yeah.
That's not what you take from spring, first off. if Kevin Newman has taught you anything. And secondly, just chill. But like the things that you do want to see in this is like what you're saying. Like Brian Hayes right now, I don't care what his batting average even is. But what I am liking is how hard that ball is being hit. How, like you said, the angle, like it's
where it's
being
going.
driven.
Yeah.
And so far, so good, and reasons why you talked about it in the offseason. He discussed that this is stuff he's looked into. He's pissed. And he's looked into his batting data metrics and stuff, and like he's buying into the whole launch angle. He's buying into this different stuff, and like he's changing his swing. He wants to be good, obviously, but like he's seeking out things. He wants to be a better hitter. So you heard him say this, and now you're starting to see it in action. So yes, like that is very intriguing. Does it need to keep up? Yeah. Do you want to see it in the regular season? Yes. But like in those 3 games, this is what I want to see, and this is what I'm seeing. Well, I didn't quite see it because I also missed the triple, but I was told by you about it. So that's what matters also.
Yeah, there we go. So far we've discussed our trip and the 2 most impactful things that have happened, you weren't there for.
So. Right. And then I got there, it was basically all the subs took place, and then everyone was terrible.
And I mean, I want to add in. We don't want to spend too much time on this, but no, it was a fun trip overall. Good little prequel to the week when all of us are going to be down here. I can't wait for that. That'll be a lot of fun. But again, another just a couple things that I've noticed, at the games. Kyle Nicholas, who I've not really ever been that high on, looked really impressive against the Phillies on Saturday. I could definitely see something happening there where he turned into a pretty good relief pitcher. He impressed me with how he looked. Just his pitches and his stuff. But yeah, that was the other kind of main takeaway. And we saw Andrew McCutchen yesterday in a Pirates uniform, so that's cool to see. I mean, and just from a sentimental value, like hadn't seen that in a long time. That was pretty neat, seeing Kutch in a Pirates jersey.
Yeah, he walked out right underneath us. Jim's low light is Jim didn't get a baseball yesterday. He tried to battle with all the little kids, but they overcame and won. Jim left baseball.
I was not battling. Like, let me get that. I'm going to make sure that's out there.
No,
I was not fighting kids.
Yes, you were.
If a kid wanted a baseball,
no, you were.
It was a kid's baseball.
Jim, you pushed.
If there were no kids, then I would have taken a ball. Where's Justice and Alex? Because they were there too, so they know.
No lie. Jim's standing there. He's like, DiNardo, this is a perfect spot to get a baseball.
And it was. Like, because
these kids rushed over and took the spot.
And I swear these kids throughout the course of the game, they got 15 balls.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Like 15. I'm talking like a dozen or more.
Right.
So it was a great spot, but you gotta let the kid have the balls, before you.
That's right. But like you said, the highlight, you saw Andrew McCutchen walk out from underneath us, and then we were there, and Andrew McCutchen left the game injured. So that's good. No, so far we're hearing from him like nothing broken. It sounds like some loose reporting I've seen on Twitter, but hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, so far it's just discomfort, because he was removed for discomfort.
So yeah, so that was a spring training trip, and then I left pretty much right after the game. Got home at like 9 last night. So overall, it was a decent weekend. It was a nice little getaway. Now I feel like to prepare us for the upcoming in 2 weeks. That is
2 weeks. I'll make sure I bring sunscreen that time too.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah,
bring it up for Tyler and Cody too.
Yeah,
that'll be their first time seeing this.
We're gonna need some sunscreen.
All right, should we get into our second shot?
Let's do it.
So, a couple things. I think the first thing we'll talk about is something very interesting, something that's happened right away, and something that took place when we were at the game yesterday. But Bryan Reynolds. This whole offseason, a lot of discussion. Are you going to trade him? Are you going to extend him? I mean, he's a top 5 center fielder. Now all of a sudden, he's a left fielder. Again, it's been interesting so far, but every game he started, he's been in left field. So, albeit it's early in spring training, again, keep talking, handful of games. But is there something you're taking away from this right now, Jim?
Man, I think I think as of right now, Bryan Reynolds is a left fielder. I don't know. Like, I mean, Jack Sawinski's been playing center field pretty much every single time Reynolds has been in the lineup. And Reynolds has been in left, or he's DH'd. They were talking, they were showing videos from camp, and Reynolds is taking, drills from left field, not center field. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, we'll see here in the next week or so if this continues. And if he stays in left field this whole spring, then you just got to kind of assume he's your left fielder going forward. But yeah, as of right now, we have yet to see Bryan Reynolds, who many regard as a top 5 or 6 center fielder in Major League Baseball. We've yet to see him in center field. So just an interesting development. I think it's just kind of funny, the timing of it. You could argue this is best for the team, and I think you could definitely make that argument. Out of the 30 center fielders who played 500 or more innings last year in center field in Major League Baseball, Bryan Reynolds ranked last in defense on Fangraphs. So it definitely makes sense that he could play left field. I could kind of see maybe like a timeshare going forward. And this is just kind of me thinking ahead. Maybe Bryan Reynolds is the left fielder against righties when Sawinski's in the game. And then against lefties when Sawinski's not playing, Reynolds, moves into center, and Connor Joe or somebody plays left field. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But right now, Reynolds hasn't been a center fielder yet this spring.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things too, right? It's early, so they could just be trying to see something, or it's not like he needs the reps in left field. The guy came up as a left fielder. I mean, let's start a few years back where we were talking, having a discussion of, is Bryan Reynolds going to be a center fielder? Like, this doesn't sound like a good idea, but by default, he kind of has to be. But I'm not sure if he has the defense to be there. And he actually played a really good center field for us that one year. And it's like, okay, forget it. He's good. He can play center field. And last year it wasn't that good. So, like how you said, it kind of makes sense that like him going to left field isn't like the end of the world. It's not like, oh my God, how are you dicking over this player? Like, it makes sense. It's just that, is there really a guy here to take center field from him? Like, think about Kutch and Marte. I mean, Marte, it just screamed. Like, I mean, that guy, put him in center. He belongs there. And like, I don't see that this year in this club. It's not like there's someone that really push him off. Now, albeit Sawinski had favorable measures last year, but kind of like the year with, with Bryan Reynolds in center field, like that surprised us. Like, he wasn't known for his defense. Now that the underlying numbers like kind of show like he was good defensively out there, and he played center field a little bit last year. So like, I can maybe undersee it, but still, like, Sawinski isn't that guy for me to push off my star player from center field. So that's what's a little interesting to me. But again, like, I'm okay with it. It kind of makes sense defensively if Sawinski can, play it that well. But yeah, so far, like, nothing in center. I'm wondering how long this goes into spring training to kind of give us that caveat of like, this is legit. So I guess more or less what you're saying is just keep an eye out on it for right now.
Keep an eye out on it. And I think it kind of gives us an idea that, I think Sawinski definitely has the inside track, out of all these guys when it comes to that, who's going to be starting in the outfield. Yeah, you mentioned like pushing Reynolds off. Like, you would think that maybe somebody like Swaggerty, right, with his defensive abilities, if he were to take the reins on a starting job someday, like, he could maybe do it. But yeah, Sawinski's not who you would think of your prototypical center field type type defender. But again, he did play well according to the metrics out there last year. So it could be something that they're going to try. But Bryan Reynolds also played well according to the metrics 2 years ago. He was just really bad last year. So
Right.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Just something to keep an eye on. Hasn't played center field yet this spring. So if that continues, gotta imagine he's the left fielder.
For sure. All right. So Bryan Reynolds, left fielder, to be continued.
Yeah.
So let's get to our triple shot. So another thing to look into this year was, of course, like the second base position battle. Who's really going to take the reins? It's not as if I feel like if you talked about a few years ago who would have second base this year, the guys aren't there. Like, and a big part of it is like Rodolfo Castro. Like he kind of came out of nowhere. It's kind of cemented himself as a potential fit for second. Heading into this year, I think like he had the inside track. We all were intrigued about Rodolfo Castro. So let's talk about center base position battle. At this point in time, Castro batting again, handful of stats, right? Castro with the team lead, 13 at bats, batting 231, and where's Bay? Yeah, Bay with 12 at bats as well, batting 083. I think those are like the two top dogs that you're probably going into this year thinking of who might battle out. There's some others, but it's not like anyone's like really taking the reins right now from second base. So I don't know. Let's talk about second base. What do you think right now heading into this year? Who's got in that battle?
Yeah, I think going into spring training, this was really the only this was probably the most interesting competition, right? And I don't know how much of a competition it was. Like I think Castro going into this had a pretty good hold on the position, but if Castro maybe has a terrible spring and Bay looks amazing, then maybe that's where Bay can kind of take a little bit of a hold here. So far, that hasn't happened, right? Castro's spring has been okay. It's been a week, but he's got a home run. Leads the team and runs batted in, and with 5, he struck out in about half of his plate appearances so far, but he hasn't looked awful by any means. And G1 Bay, on the other hand, hasn't looked good at all, right? And again, it's just 12 at bats, but he's 1 for 12, has a stolen base in there as well. But Bay hasn't played well. Castro hasn't played great, but he's been better than Bay. And I think with him already kind of having that inside track to the position, Castro is kind of looking like that guy who's going to be the opening day second baseman. And I think that's kind of what we all thought was going to be the case. But, Bay definitely has a chance. It's just Bay's not doing what he needs to do to take a hold of that chance thus far. But a lot of spring left. But I think Castro right now has the inside track.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it on the head right there, too. Again, for one, it's so early. But the strikeouts for both of them, you talk about Castro with 6 strikeouts. And Bay has 5. And like the thing about Bay is he needs to make contact.
Yeah.
That's his speed is his major thing, right? His contact skills. Like he needs to be hitting like 300 to be productive because he doesn't have power. I think there's like a little bit of sneaky power. Like we talked about the past couple years, how he's gotten like 8 or 9 home runs in a season. Like, okay, so maybe there's a little bit of power that makes him a little more intriguing. That he's not just like a slap hitter, but it doesn't hit enough power to make that difference. Like he needs to get on base. And the thing about Castro is you could have a low batting average for him and still see production. Like this kind of proves it. Like you look at his stat line, 231, 462 slugging. Like I can see that from Rodolfo Castro. You can live with that. So I'm with you. Like I felt like because of like all we keep talking, he is so toolsy. Like everything with Castro, he has so much. We said like in a degree, he's cruise light, right? Like he can throw hard, he can run pretty fast. He's so athletic, he has some power. He's nothing like O'Neal Cruz, but if you squint hard enough, right? Like it's a little Cruz light in there, kind of like we joke about Marcano being Tucker light. But anyways, with like again, like you are intrigued by Castro with the stuff that he can do. But I would say like heading into this year, like you said, he had the inside track, but what Castro also presents is he's that dude that could probably lose it in spring based off like he can go into a slump, have a bad spring, and Bay could just be hitting around, and it's like, okay, you got to give Bay the second base job, but Bay's not giving him that push like at all right now. And
Yeah.
again, not saying like Bay can't have a good spring the rest of the season. Not saying that Castro can't end it that way too. But so far, what you're seeing, I'm with you. The strikeouts are concerning for Bay, I think, more than even Castro.
Yeah, I think Bay still has a role on this team. Like I think if you're looking at another competition, it's who's going to be that backup infielder, right? Because then you're looking at whoever loses the second base battle, and you're combining Marcano and Chris Owings in there, and you know Triolo maybe is in there too. So you're looking at some people. I don't know what happened to DiNardo. He just fell off here, but you're looking at some people who are competing for that backup spot. I think Bay has the clear inside track to that, where I like Bay there a lot more than I would like someone like Marcano, because I think Bay at least provides some sort of offensive upside to him, along with his versatility. Whereas I don't think Marcano can hit at all. So I'll give me Bay as that extra guy on the roster. But yeah, I think as of right now, I would have had Castro ahead of Bay, and that hasn't changed from what we've seen from his first full week.
Right. Yeah, we don't need to talk about Marcano too much, I feel, because I think both of us have just like almost from day one. I know you had your little shtick there for a week, but that was clearly a shtick. There's been nothing. We didn't understand the trade that much, but it was like, let's believe in Ben. Marcano hasn't shown anything since then to warrant like, okay, there's a reason to target Marcano and all these deals that Ben was trying to do. And I'm with you. Like, there's nothing about Marcano that stands out. So yes, I want Bay to take that role as well. And I think he can.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Chris Owings is someone to keep an eye on, because he's maybe he's definitely the most experienced out of all the guys. I mean, he's played in parts of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 major league seasons. Chris Owings has. So, he's been around. He's actually had a pretty good spring in the little that we've seen him so far. But I think in order to knock somebody off the roster, he's going to have to like really open up some eyes. And I don't know if he's quite doing that. But I noticed yesterday some Chris Owings chatter on Twitter after he hit his home run yesterday, and I would say maybe back off that a little bit. I don't see Chris Owings making this team as of right now. I mean, I've seen weirder things happen, but I think with the collection of middle infield types that are on this roster, they'd rather go with one of those guys than Chris Owings, who they would need to boot one of those guys probably off the roster in order to make that happen. So,
right,
as of right now, I don't see Chris Owings in there, but I think Bay's got that. I think Bay's got that last infield spot kind of locked down right now.
I think the two things that Chris Owings presents, which doesn't warrant it's a high enough level that he's going to make the team for, but like you said, the veteran presence, like he is a vet, he's experienced there, but he does play a shortstop, like for real. Excuse me, unlike a Castro, Bay, and such, who can fake the funk for maybe a little bit. So like if there was an injury for Cruz, we've talked like who's going to take that. I guess Peguero, we maybe discuss maybe coming up or whatever, but we like his defense, and especially Eric talking about the yips,
Right.
Like Chris Owings, like he can play the position, so that could be your way of allowing Peguero to still develop, right? You can have Chris Owings there. So that's the one thing he, like I said, he brings, but I don't know if that's enough to, like you're saying, keep Bay from making the roster as such. So I'm with you. I like Bay's skill set. It limits him, right, because of the lack of power and such. But I think he can be a good enough utility type player. So
yeah,
I'm hoping.
I agree.
I'm hopeful for for this year from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. So again, like the whole not too much to really discuss right now. I mean, spring training is starting, so you're starting to see some games, some action. That's really cool.
Mhm.
And it hasn't been real fun so far for the Pittsburgh Pirates. A lot of strikeouts, not a whole lot of power that we've seen, except from hey, MVP Drew Maggi. Is he making
Yeah,
the club soon?
Drew Maggi looks really good. No, definitely not making the club, but
No.
it's a fun feel good story. Justice De Los Santos, wrote an article about him, kind of profiling him. So plug in that for Justice. There you go, Justice. But no, it's an interesting story because I mean he's been around forever, right? And he has I think 2 or 3 days of major league service time, but has never actually appeared in a game. So I mean, dude's
Yeah.
been in baseball for a while now, no game. So fun
We were
story to
discussing it
follow.
yesterday, you and
Yeah,
I.
you're
Like, will he ever get a plate appearances in the
yeah,
majors? And we decided it's going to be Tampa Bay, right? It's going to be with Tampa. He's going to hit home run.
yeah.
He's going to go 1-for-1 Tampa
He's
Bay with a home run.
with it's yeah 1-for-1 with like a game changing home run for the Tampa Bay Rays, and that'll
Right.
be it. Yeah,
Book it.
that makes sense.
Right. So cool. That I think pretty much wraps up the show. Unless there was anything else you maybe wanted to discuss. Henry
That's
Davis
good.
got a walk yesterday too.
Yeah, he did.
Saw
He
two
came in
pitches.
for Kutch. So yeah,
All right. So then I guess I'll wrap it up. We will be back again this week with another WNS9 Plus. Speaking of Justice, he's going to be on the show this week with us. And I guess we'll talk to you then.
sounds good.
So bye-bye.
See you guys.
Hey, you all, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucs.